Yeah, because I'm interested. There's been a lot of talk over the years. I mean, Operation Dark Winter was World Economic Forum, Johns Hopkins, and Bloomberg didn't exist at that time. But if they did, they would have participated in that exercise. That was an anthrax outbreak, I think.
Pretty sure. I'll bring it up right now.
And anthrax had really just broken out, brought out by those people, and said, "Death to America, Allah is great," all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. Sending it to Tom Daschle to make sure America was real scared after 9/11. Right? Okay. So there's that piece of evidence. Then Gates had not only pointed toward coronavirus in his past TED Talks, but also other biologicals and things of that nature.
No. Actually, no? Dark Winter exercise held at Andrews Air Force Base. Smallpox, Washington, D.C.
Okay, I was right. Yeah, because
the 23rd, 2001 is a fictional.
I asked that question earlier, and I was like, I can't remember. Was it anthrax or smallpox? It made sense. It would be anthrax because anthrax. I thought it was anthrax out, because it just happened. But Dark Winter is smallpox. Okay. Yep. Now, to Tim's point, Tim's like, it came out from Rick Smith or BARDA, the guy that Rick Bright at BARDA that we pointed to in last week's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
Oh, yeah. I know.
He's like, BARDA said this thing about smallpox, and then Bill Gates said this thing, and all the conspiracy people jumped on it. And I was like, well, first off, that's a straw man. Where's the evidence of that argument? It's not being made. The argument being made in a community of people who have finer attention to detail, more historical context, and understand that these things are ongoing. They see things like Operation Dark Winter, 2001. And then all of a sudden, Joe Biden starts talking about Dark Winter, and it becomes a media theme. That's a veiled reference to a smallpox operation, exercise, whatever you want to say it. And then BARDA comes out, and then these other things. Bill Gates says these things, right? But I'm pretty sure Gates had talked about this in TED Talks of the past years ago, in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
So this has all been built up. So
2014, Bill Gates, capitalism did not eradicate smallpox, as the Washington Post.
But there's a vaccine for it, Tony, so we shouldn't worry about it. But we should worry about it because there's
4 years before that, in 2010, they said that it had been eradicated thanks to the vaccine. Polio. So, but then
people cite polio as a vaccine eradicated polio. But if I bring out United Nations Agenda 21 framework, one of their goals for the 21st century was to eradicate polio through vaccinations. They still hadn't done it yet. Well, and then when you look into it, you find out some of their vaccinations actually cause polio in kids in Africa, and they had to kick the Gates Foundation and those people out of there. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then the point about Bill Gates buying buku interest in all these media companies is, well, the Gates Foundation already monopolized biotech and already signed up Fauci in 2010 for the decade of the vaccine. And they already created CEPI, which told these other manufacturers that they could produce the mRNA vaccine in the first place. And there's a whole bunch of other things in play that are being left out of when, that conversation when he like poo-poos it.
Right? Yeah, the problem is there's a preponderance of evidence. It's not just one piece. There's multiple pieces together, and they're affecting. My issue with what Tim Pool said there is they are affecting the culture. He's just like, well, there's nothing to do about the culture.
No, they manufacture.
What are you talking? Yeah, they're
manufacturing consent. Culture, this is all. Dude. I mean, you can go from who's the crazy old dude who just said that people should be like the people who without the vaccine, how they get food. Noam Chomsky. That guy, manufacturing consent. He was a book he wrote with Edward Herman. Mm-hmm. And then you can go all the way to Bernays, Lipman, Ivy Lee.
Yeah, you're getting into propaganda and psychological techniques of essentially human behavior and manipulating behavior and behavioral techniques.
They openly state it. Like, you don't have to read a whole book. You could just read the introduction to propaganda by Bernays and get it.
Right. No, it's just that's all you need, really. Yeah. I mean, you can watch the 4-hour Century of the Self and see how
invisible government.
Yeah.
The purpose of shaping people's opinions. Yeah, either one.
Bernays, Woodrow Wilson. I'm gonna mix them again. I'm sorry, but we're gonna watch like the 4-hour documentary by Adam Curtis. The Century of the Self and how they applied this and how well it worked in the realm of PR, propaganda, advertisement, and how effective it was. And then obviously we can get into the 50s, 60s, 70s with the behavioral studies. It just becomes overwhelming. I mean, it's an interesting artifact. The one issue here, though, is like he's not wrong that like we have to affect the culture, but you have to understand how they're affecting the culture. So it's just like that's the issue I have with Tim Pool. He doesn't want to. I get that. I don't think James had a point to mention. I don't just because I've watched enough Tim Pool to get an idea, and I've seen him evolve over the years that I think this is just always how he's been. He doesn't want to ever go down the conspiracy, what he considers to be the
Well, let's put it this way: none of us
route.
wanted to believe the things we currently understand today.
That's true.
We just
That's
wanted
true.
to understand what was going on, and it went far beyond our beliefs.
But unless he takes that next step, he's never going to be able to affect the culture as much as he thinks he's going to be able to, because he doesn't know how
that's
they're
the
doing
potential I see in him as well.
Right.
It's
He
like
has
what
great
happens
potential.
when you can get like Corbett's conduit of information plugged into networks of millions of younger people who realize there's people that have already been there and done that and left you a much more accurate map than what's being handed out daily, that you guys are trying to decipher what's going on. It's like you can't understand it from the current events, but you can understand it with this historical knowledge set that doesn't take, a long time, but it's less than 15,000 hours that it took to indoctrinate us into believing things that weren't true.
Right.
Understanding the truth only takes like tens to hundreds of hours of internal work and review of that which exists, and the juxtaposition of those, and the adjudication between objective reality and subjective reality by inductive and deductive logic.
Correct. That's correct. And it's not like he has to all of a sudden recreate the wheel and do a bunch of productions that other people have done to expose Bill Gates or Jeffrey Epstein or George Soros or all these other, or Klaus Schwab. He doesn't have to do that. He just needs to be aware of how they are doing it, so he knows how to at least to communicate it on a general level for a general audience, and then use or backwards engineer the techniques they're using in order to affect the culture in a more efficacious, more effective way, or effectual way. Because otherwise, he's always going to be one step behind, and then he's going to complain that he's always one step behind and the culture isn't catching up. Why isn't the culture catching up, Mr. Poole, I should say? I wonder why. And so I get that he doesn't want to do that research.
It's a cybernetics.
He's going to have to.
And
He's going to have to. He's going to have to wake up at some point. I hope. I mean, it's good that he and Luke had spent time together. I think Luke spent time on his property in his RV or whatever he has for quite some time. So it's good that they developed a relationship to have that conversation, because you can tell they've been together for some time for them to get in that heated discussion like that. And it was, I actually really appreciate that. That to me is a not only an incredible sign of parrhesia, but it's them being as honest and having a level of a relationship where they feel it's okay enough to actually call each other out.
Yeah, I think that's healthy.
And just have a disagreement. Yes, extremely healthy. That's what's missing the most in our culture right now.
Right. We don't get to see that too often.
If you haven't heard about our Grand Theft World community membership, here are a few of the things you've been missing. A mobile app where you can access replays of the Grand Theft World podcast and show notes. Access to the Grand Theft World community on Discord, where we crowdsource news and resources, and you can contribute to the show. The opportunity to participate in the Grand Theft World bi-weekly town hall. Exclusive content from Richard Grove, including behind-the-scenes footage and future access to unpublished material. 93 episodes of the Peace Revolution podcast, and the Grand Theft World newsletter delivered straight to your inbox each week. If you want to stay ahead of the great game, visit us at grandtheftworld.com, click or tap the button in the top right-hand corner, and join a vibrant community of researchers blazing a new path to truth. We'll see you there.